Manager of Marketing and Communications for the Pros Department. This morning, I'm going to be sharing with you the proposed 2024 special events and event calendar. Next slide, please. So I'd like to start off and just kind of review what our event objectives and goals are for our signature and community events. We strive to create a superior quality of life for our residents, highlighting the city as a great place to visit and live. We like to ensure a full diversity of community members can participate. We try to appeal to a wide range of interests and make a positive impact and create a sense of community. All of our events we try to provide either for free or at a very low cost. We build on partnerships with local businesses and organizations. We're always trying to create community awareness and highlight our pros and also citywide programs, services, facilities, incorporating community feedback and input into our events every year, and then just recognizing and appreciating, celebrating our community. Next slide. So starting us off is our S'mores on the Shore event. This continues to be one of our most popular events. Last year, for the first time, we added some fall dates in addition to our spring dates out at the reservoir, and so we're planning on doing that again. Next slide. Park lights and movie nights, again, continues to be a community favorite. We try to spread ourselves out throughout each ward throughout the summer. We started using an LED screen last year so that we could start the movies earlier when it didn't have to be all the way dark, and that was really well received by the community. We had more attendance, and so we're going to do that again this year. Next slide. May is our Colorado Freedom Memorial event, of course, in partnership with Rick Crandall and the Colorado Freedom Memorial Foundation. This year will be the 11th anniversary out at the Colorado Freedom Memorial Spring Hill Park. Next slide. Summer Vibes is a new event this year that will take place in June, July, and August. This is kind of rethinking our old event that we used to call Summer in the City that we did pre-COVID. The difference here is that this event is really meant to focus on preteens and teens for programming versus our Summer in the City, which was focused on a younger audience. Next slide. Brings us to our 4th of July Spectacular. On the Great Lawn, fireworks, food trucks, music, you name it. Next slide. And then Global Fest. Global Fest is organized by the Office of International and Immigrant Affairs and the Global Fest Planning Committee, scheduled for August 17th, tentatively on the Great Lawn again. Fall into Fun is currently scheduled for October 19th on the Great Lawn. Last year, we had the highest attendance yet. We have a pumpkin patch, decorating kits. Everyone shows up in their costumes. It's a really great time for fall. Next slide. Veteran Salute is scheduled for Friday, November 1st. This will be our 3rd year at the Hyatt Regency in Aurora. The conference center has been great for our luncheon and formal ceremony, so we're going to continue to host it there. Holiday tree lighting, another favorite. We'll light up the lawn with all the lights on the trees, have a special guest, Santa's workshop, vendors, performances, hot cocoa, cookies, and the roasted nuts that go quickly. So here is our 2024 at a glance. Basically, we have something happening every month from April all the way through December. And then this is just a quick map to show our event locations and how we really try to spread ourselves out across the city so that they're accessible to all. And that concludes my portion of the special event lineup. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jessica. Councilmember Coombs, any questions? No questions. Everything looks great, and I'm glad to hear that that you've had a good response to some of the changes that you guys made for some of the community events.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Councilmember Murillo?
Thank you. I have a couple of things. I appreciate the kind of bird's eye view of all of the events. I think, I guess just going down the line, since it's kind of in that order, I think last year I had asked about, what it would take to um, zhuzh up. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, frankly, but the tree lighting ceremony, right? And I don't know if we ever circled back on that, but just wanted to name that again here because I think it's a really great event. Um, I just think there's more potential, and I'd be curious to see how much that would cost. Um, and is there any way to alleviate the lines at the nuts and the food hot cocoa station? Because it really is like um it's a bottleneck, like there's I think people wait like a significant amount of time, which, I guess happens at events, but it just feels like something that we might be able to, I guess, address. So I wanted to ask about kind of just process improvements on those on that to start with.
Sure. Yeah, I think just every year we've continued to everything's free at holiday tree lighting. And so that creates long lines because people are getting everything for free. But also every year we've continued to add the amounts because, based on what we think attendance will be. So last year we increased the amount of nuts, we increased the amount of cookies, we increased the amount of hot cocoa, but it just keeps growing and becoming popular. And so we do try to address that the best we can, and we'll continue to do that so that we aren't having people wait in excessively long lines for sure. And then I think Brooke wanted to jump in and talk about the lights themselves.
And I do remember you making that request to improve improve on the event, and we have time and opportunity to do that right now, with it being February. So that's something that we do need to circle back on, and I do remember you making that request. So let us take some time talking about it this next few weeks with Jessica. Well, with the event team, Jessica is doing this presentation on behalf of the event team, and we have a new event team. So let me spend some time with them. This would be the appropriate time to look at where we have some budget available to do a sprucing up, I guess, of the event, and see what else we can do to improve upon it. So.
Thanks, Brooke. Just I think it's become it's one of our signature events and sounds like it continues to grow. I would just like to support the growth and expansion of that event. And just, my experience going year to year. Just yeah. And I wonder if you're the events team or how you guys design that out, the format of the event, because I think like having all the kind of food vendors in in one corner, not little corner. It's not a little event. But one corner I think adds to the feeling of, really long line and yeah, I wonder if there was like a wish list, given kind of the growth and the popularity, what that would look like with existing budget. Obviously, I know that there might be other priorities, Brooke, but I guess I'm just curious to know what that could look like if you had a wish list and if there's any flexibility on other parts of the budget to maybe bolster one of our signature events, frankly. So yeah, just wanted to offer that as well.
I'll tell you what, we will bring this back next month. We can do that. We can spend the next couple weeks talking about it. We do need to update our large Christmas tree in the atrium area of the building as well. it's at the end of its useful life. But I do believe we have budget that will cover this. So I'm not so much concerned about the budget. I think we just need to review the layout, but we'll bring something back to you next month.
Awesome. That sounds good. Councilmember Medina, I had just a couple other questions on the other.
Go ahead.
I was wondering on the Summer Vibes program. I think it's awesome that y'all are focusing on preteens and teens. Can I ask, aside from like wanting to kind of have events across the city, are there other ways, other reasons why you chose those specific parks? Specifically, are you coordinating with, with the youth violence prevention team or, with APD on kind of some key areas or key geographies to focus on?
These locations were just chosen in an attempt to try to spread ourselves out throughout the city and also use parks that we haven't used for other events was the main goal here. But I can circle back and find out exactly what collaboration has happened thus far with those other groups.
Okay, thank you. I just think pros specifically, just because you guys are so outward facing in the community, like having that um input from, specifically youth violence prevention or other departments on kind of some target areas, maybe APD, in terms of, I don't know, like a map of kind of some areas that need some more support, but that would be helpful to know. And I wonder if that changes kind of the way that you do programming in the future, but that would be my request. But at a minimum, I appreciate the consideration for kind of spreading the love throughout the city. You can imagine different ward members might take issue if that wasn't the case. So I think good on you for at least doing that.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that's a good point. So we'll look into some of those other things and we can certainly consider other locations as well.
Yeah. And then the last thing is just the s'mores on the shore. Like personally speaking, I am super excited to see that y'all are adding more dates. I think every time I try to go on, it's like already booked. So I can imagine that, that speaks to its popularity. So I guess I would just advocate for more. And I don't know if you have the same people that do it every year, or other ways to kind of spread the love in that way. But clearly it's popular. So just want to encourage y'all to continue to expand that where it makes sense.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, everything looks good to me. I just have one question regarding the Global Fest. If has been any conversations about expanding that another day, just because I know I've heard from other vendors and other community members around having performances or food trucks or things of that nature to come to that event, but it's so limited with one day. So I was just curious if there's been any talk about potentially expanding it to another day, because I know, originally it used to be, over at Bicentennial Park, and they used to have it over the weekend, like in almost 3 days. I think it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So I have not heard that conversation come up this year, but I can certainly run it past the Global Fest Planning Committee and the Office of International Immigrant Affairs. I know that they have in the last couple of years just added like a VIP event on the front end of Global Fest, which usually happens the Friday before. But again, that's not really open to the public. That's more of an invitation only type of event. But yes, I can certainly bring that up to the planning group.
All right, thank you much. But thanks again for everything, and I appreciate all the events you're doing. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, move to the next piece. If anybody has any other questions. Alrighty. Let's see. So next is the 4B comprehensive plan amendment.
I'm sorry, we have
Councilmember Medina?
Library and Cultural Services to present their portion.
I don't have it on my agenda here. I'm wondering. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I was want to see if Laura was going to say something. So this year, thank you so much. We were invited to be also presenting your the library and cultural services large events that we put together every year. We are not, so this is something that we do every year. Some of them are new from last year, but nothing new for this year. It's just more awareness and sharing with you what we are doing. And this is an initiative for our Deputy City Manager, Laura Perry, who wanted to make sure that you guys are also aware of what the library and cultural services is doing. I'm presenting because our director, our new director, just started 2 days ago. So I just wanted to mention our new Library and Cultural Services Director. She's here at in the meeting too, as well, Ginger Y. Brunetti. You can see her. I don't know if you're able to speak, Ginger, because you were not given panel rights, but she's in the call today. Anyway, next slide, please. Our objectives and goals are very similar to what pros share, so I won't spend too much time on these. You can just go to the next slide, please. These are not all the events that this department puts together. We just wanted to share some of the large events. This one is going to be on their 16th year this year, Aurora Scholars. As you are very familiar with this event, it used to happen at both a library, Cherry Creek and Aurora Public Schools at districts. We used to have events at those places. After COVID, we brought this event from the city to inside the library. And it has been an amazing experience for families, especially for new Americans. The experience for them to be in a library where they have not been in the library before, it has been just an amazing opportunity for people to get to know this. As you know, this is a whole city of Aurora honoring students in the community. It's not just the library behind. Last year we gathered about 2,000 people, and we expect this year to be also about the same amount of people. It's going to take place April 23rd, 24th, and 25th, 3 nights inside the Central Library, as you can see the picture there from last year. Anyway, so it's an amazing opportunity. This one, we receive support from City Council directly. We get a stipend from City Council's budget for $5,000 to help put together this event. Next slide, please. In June, we will have the Aurora History Museum will have another of those mosaic of cultures exhibit. Just some background, they have done one about the Ethiopian community, one about the Salvadorian community, one about Mexican community. So this will be the new exhibit about highlighting communities in Aurora, as we know our diversity. This one will be focused on the Nepali community. It will include, the exhibit will open in May and it will run through next year. But it will be a reception in June. So that's also to put in your radar. That will be the next community to be highlighted in Aurora will be the Nepali community. Next slide, please. And then our dance program is very popular program with our dancers, especially because of affordability. We have really wonderful instructors in the dance program, and this group, they do a year-round program. This is people that are committed to the program, and they do 2 big presentations. One in June, that is the end of the year recital, and then one at the end of the calendar year. Last year was the Nutcracker, and this year is Alice in Wonderland. So they alternate every year. It's a different presentation. There's already dates for both, for the recital for the students that were here the entire year, and then at the end of the year is the mixing all the students, also inviting people from other dance schools in the area to be part of this bigger production in November. Aurora Fox again, we did it last year at Aurora Fox. Almost all of them were sold out, and this year we'll be coming back to the Aurora Fox. Next slide, please. And then during the summer, we have 2 different music performances happening. One, we call it Aurora Prisms. It used to be summer concerts outdoors, and we moved those inside the libraries and the Fox the last 2 or 3 years for several reasons. But then this has become very popular. Every time that we do these concerts at the libraries and Fox, again, they are sold out inside the libraries. And this is our arts education program. They are the ones putting together a really diverse group of performers. Not only in terms of people, but also the music that is selected for this is curated with really good intention, really thoughtful intentions. And then to supplement these, last year we started also concerts at parks. We call it summer jams. Summer jams are taking place in different wards. Last year we did, I think we covered all the wards. With summer jams, we start with the bookmobile. We do story time. We also bring the dance students from the dance program, and then we finish with a concert. It was very popular, so we're bringing that back this year. We don't have dates yet selected for this year, but it will start in June, and we'll have this year will be 4 summer concerts. We'll keep you guys updated in terms of locations and dates, but it's going to be back with summer jams. Again, things happening inside libraries and the Fox, and then things happening outside also at different parks. And then based on what I saw from pros, we'll make sure that we coordinate with them so we don't do similar close to those parts that they're selecting, so we can spread the love even more so. Next slide, please. And then in September, as we know, we have Hispanic Heritage Month. Last year, we expanded this celebration by partnering with the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and the Office of International and Immigrant Affairs. So we used to have a really beautiful event inside Central Library for 200, 300 people just for the community. This year, the 2023, we expanded this celebration to include city staff. So last year, we did one event during the day where we had a buffet of different foods and drinks from Latin America, and as well also performances from Latin America. I think was a Venezuelan and Peruvian people presenting during the day event. And then in the evening, the same day, we brought more performances, more different food to celebrate with the community. So we're bringing this back to the city again. For the staff, we are including more different departments to be part of the planning committee for the staff celebration, and for the community will be similar to last year with performances. You see the performance there from last year. We brought all the Latin American flags to the library. So this will be back again this year, celebrating September. We will have a date for the actual celebration coming soon. Next slide, please. And then speaking of partnerships, we're very happy about this partnership with pros, and that's one of the main reasons why we are here today. Last year, we did a mini-con just from the library, and this is something that the library used to do before COVID inside the library. It has been for a few years. After COVID, we brought it back, but we expanded to go into the Great Lawn. We got about 2,000 people participating inside the library and outside the library in the Great Lawn. So we just, in conversations with thanks to Laura Perry, with pros, makes sense to partner and make a bigger event. So it will be similar to last year, but just with more resources and more people in the planning side. But it was very successful last year, so we're bringing this back again, MiniCon. Just perspective on this. Usually, a Comic-Con conference is expensive, at least $40 to $100. And again, this is going to be completely free for the community. And that's one of the many reasons we're doing this, because of the need that we have here from having this kind of events available for the community, and they don't have access to these. We hear from people coming from all over Colorado this year, last year, because of that, knowing that it was affordable. Well, it was free, but also affordable to access these panelists on these events. So yeah. Next slide, please. And then last year, we also did a Dia de los Muertos event at MLK Library in partnership with Amigos de Mexico. This was very popular, even though it was very cold that day and it was snowing. We got about 500 people at the event. we will bring this back again this year. Likely it's going to change location because maybe at that time will be under construction for the library, MK library, the renovation that we're doing over there. So we'll likely to be changing to a different location, a different library perhaps. But again, very popular. It was very successful with a lot of performances. You see the beautiful performance there. And this event can just keep growing and growing. I can see that. Next slide, please. And then in December, and this might address some of the comments that you mentioned, Councilmember Murillo. So partnering again with pros, this last past December, we added this Merry Makers Market inside the library at the same time that the tree lighting event was happening in the Great Lawn. We brought about 20 vendors to offer their handmade stuff that they're doing. And we talked with pros again to this year to continue with this because it just makes sense. We open a little bit earlier and we close a little bit after the event happening at the Great Lawn, and people were coming to the library just to see what else was available for to purchase for the holidays. It was very successful. We hear great feedback from vendors, from community members, that we make sense for us to bring this back again, to invite local crafters and people who are doing their own efforts for products, and we made sure that we were very selective about representation, both community members, both vendors, and also affordability of what they were offering. So it was well received that we are offering this back again, and I think adds to the event, to the experience, that people are coming and almost expecting that they can also start making some holiday purchases as part of this event. So it's expanding that to the inside the library too. And next slide, please. And this is just similar to pros, just a list of things that we are planning for this year. And I'm open to any questions or comments.
Thank you, Abraham. Councilmember Coombs, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question that probably also will be echoed by Councilmember Murillo, which was there was some conversation about the Dia de los Muertos and like the Katrina Ball, and maybe kind of doing like a bigger kind of whole festival type of approach. So I was just wondering if there's been any further conversation about kind of doing parade, expanding that Dia de los Muertos program.
So we're talking about two different purposes of events, right? So Katrina Ball, and thank you for coming. I remember seeing you both here. Was a fundraiser for the library, the first one done for the library. So the purpose and the goal of that one very specific about fundraising. That's why we had a ticket price for that one. As we know, all the offerings from the library for the community in general are free, but this one had a high ticket price because it was a fundraiser. So even though it was celebrating the same community, it was under this theme of Dia de los Muertos. At the end was a fundraiser event, and that was kind of the goal. For the actual Dia de los Muertos, it has been just initial conversation, because I don't think we haven't had an actual formal conversation, and also you guys know that we were in transition for the last couple months to really explore that possibility that Councilmember Murillo mentioned to me and to others. But we will explore that. As you guys probably know, there was the first parade happening in Denver last year with this organization. I forgot their name. Anyway, Beto Jardín, he put a parade together in Denver, and I think could be possible here too. So let us just go circle back internally with our new director and with Joe McNeil, and then we can circle back with you. What can be done for that? We have a very, very limited budget for events for our department, but we'll explore all the possibilities. Thank you.
And
Other
Councilmember
questions?
Coombs, to add, I would just say that it is absolutely our intent to continue the Katrina Ball. That was a huge success last year, a lot of fun. And so the goal is to continue that fundraiser for the Aurora Public Library and grow it.
Great. Any other questions, Councilmember Coombs?
Nope.
All right, Councilmember Murillo.
Just to piggyback off of that, I think Councilmember Coombs named all the things that I'd asked for, and we frankly talked about at some point in the past. Just want to echo that. I think I hear you on the Katrina Ball, and that being kind of specifically a fundraiser. You know, I think there was some when the commission came to present, you know, we threw out the idea of some sort of parade, and Norberto, I think, would be like a, you know, he knows how to put on events. He has a relationship with the different nonprofit communities in Aurora. I know, you know, several of them along the Colfax corridor. So if we could connect with that group and get a sense of how much that costs, like you know, I'd love to continue exploring how we can expand that as well. That, you know, similarly to, you know, our other signature events in the city of Aurora, I think being able to, you know, because I think there's so many intersections that we could create, and you know, and it was part of the First Friday. We have an art district. It was in Denver's art district. I think they might have had more than one, frankly. But, you know, I think there just might be like offshoots there to see how we might like create some momentum and activity along the Colfax corridor. And I think it's early enough that we can talk about what that could look like to partner with the businesses and the nonprofit community, if, you know, depending on the location. But I think just thinking about where I think it would be best served. Obviously, I would put forth that, but happy to continue being a thought partner and workshopping what that looks like. And yeah, look forward to seeing what y'all can put together and bring back for us to review.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Councilmember Medina, can I just hop back in for 1 second?
Sure. Go ahead.
And I wonder too, like, I understand the different purpose of the Katrina Ball, that like we want to make sure that's still fundraising, but maybe there's a way to kind of like schedule it and set it up so that like the Dia de los Muertos event, a parade, the Katrina Ball could all still be kind of connected. And that might also bring some folks in that might not otherwise know about the fundraising component that would still be interested in supporting that, but still leaves the other events kind of open and accessible to the general public. So I think there might be some ways to kind of pair those and have them work together. And yeah, happy to kind of support in whatever way I can, but also certainly defer to Councilmember Murillo as kind of taking the lead on that.
Thank you.
Thanks again. A lot of great opportunities and activities, and I appreciate you thoughtfulness around getting different cultures and community groups into a lot of the events. So I appreciate that. So thanks again. All right, next on the agenda is the 4B is the comprehensive plan amendment, our parks, our places. And is that Ryan?
Ryan, but this is Nicole Ankeny, and I'm the manager of planning, design, and construction. Before Ryan begins the presentation on the master plan, I just wanted to express my sincere gratitude to staff, the consultant team, and to the community. On behalf of the city's executive leadership team and the pros management team, we are incredibly proud of the thorough process, the public engagement, and the sheer amount of data utilized to establish the major themes and guiding principles in this plan. Ryan, along with Michelle Teller, which is a former staff member, and the Sasaki team just did a tremendous job creating a vision for the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Department that's truly based on the needs and the desires of the community in which we serve. Though we're just beginning, you know, this approval process, you are the third group, and Councilmember Medina, you've seen quite a bit of this presentation since we just met with your ward at your town hall. But we've already been receiving accolades, and I just wanted to share that with you. We've received some accolades in Aurora and actually nationally. We've already begun to have other agencies. Sarasota County, Florida is one example. They've identified our plan as an example that they'd like to emulate. So staff have already been asked to participate in speak and lead sessions for Trust for Public Land, which just illustrates the very high bar that we have set with this project. So we look forward to your feedback, and we also look forward to implementing our department's mission through this master plan. Ryan?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan French. I'm a project manager here with Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, and I'm excited to share with you today an overview of the master plan. This plan stands as a testament to a multi-year planning effort dedicated to redefining and updating the goals and vision of the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Department. Next slide, please. The PRO system today is composed of over 8,000 acres of open space, 103 developed parks, 2 reservoirs, 3 nature centers, 5 golf courses, 5 recreation centers, 2 community centers, and 11 community pools. Our mission is to encourage active lifestyles and create healthy environments for people and nature while maintaining and enhancing spaces to meet the needs of an evolving community. Next slide, please. Aurora recognizes the tremendous benefit it receives from its public spaces and will continue to expand the system as our community grows. But we also recognize that currently some neighborhoods are better served than others, and that the department was in need of a strategic, community-driven vision to guide future investment. The PRO's master plan shall be adopted by reference to the Aurora Places Comprehensive Plan and carry the same authority of the comprehensive plan in setting the vision for the future of the city. The master plan contains 5 organizing themes informed by the Aurora Places Plan. These themes drove the planning process, informed public conversations about Aurora's Parks, Recreation, and Open Space system, and provided the organizational framework for this document and its recommendations. Next slide, please. With the help and guidance from the community, our organizational themes evolved into a defined set of guiding principles. Strengthening connectivity to PRO's assets, we must ensure equitable access and connectivity through the PRO system for all residents and work to collaborate with organizations and other public agencies to help inclusively represent the communities that make up Aurora. Meeting the evolving needs of the community, we must promote the inclusive and diverse programming, recreational opportunities and amenities, and enhance communication to foster healthy living, community building, and opportunities for all. Creating opportunities for lifelong education, this means we will provide facilities and programs for all ages that promote lifelong learning, health, and discovery, to help the community expand its knowledge of the PRO system and resources. Serving as stewards to our environment, we will preserve and enrich Aurora's natural habitats and ecosystems through the design of sustainable landscapes and educational programs. We will be transparent, accountable, and committed to responsible management of our resources. Providing safe and welcoming spaces, we must promote safety in our parks, recreation centers, open spaces, and golf courses, aiming to provide diverse, welcoming, and safe experience for the community. Proactively investing in the present and future, this means we will invest in sustainable growth to continually improve the quality of existing assets while creating new, welcoming destinations for all, leading with efficient practices in operations and maintenance when planning the present and future of PROs. Next slide, please. The project team knew the success of this plan would be dependent on learning from the voices of the community. Serving such a diverse community creates many challenges, but representative outcomes require meeting community groups and individuals where they are at. It requires hearing both the good and the bad. It requires compassion, patience, and understanding. And it requires a dedication to identifying and overcoming hurdles that we face each day. At each phase of the project, engagement strategies were adjusted to find new voices and share back our findings with those whom we previously connected with to ensure we were interpreting information appropriately. The project tallied over 17,000 touch points with community members through a variety of outreach, from the 18 in-person engagement events to local media and social media blasts, from USPS mailers to the thousands of emails, from connections with local business organizations to listening sessions with local nonprofit groups. The project team shared materials and gathered input in the top 6 languages spoken in Aurora. Community voices provided both qualitative and quantitative data to further enhance and refine this data. The team created a series of geographic data models. Next slide, please. The project team referenced a variety of local, regional, and national plans to better align our plan with the accepted best practices, benchmarking, and finding new and innovative approaches to data-informed decision-making. We looked closely at US Census data, local health and climate data, and land use data to develop a variety of scored matrices that can be used and replicated over time to evaluate the impacts of policies and investment into the PRO system. Next slide, please. The result of the data analysis is a composite map of Aurora's neighborhoods shown on a scale of high to low need. Areas indicated as high need may face barriers such as safe access to parks or open space property. They may lack representative recreational and programmatic opportunities, or they may be faced with other social and socioeconomic challenges or barriers that keep residents from the many benefits our parks, open spaces, recreation centers, golf courses, programming, and special events offer to the community. Utilizing this composite map, the team looked closely at the high needs neighborhoods and developed a series of priorities for the department. Next slide, please. Expanding the walk shed, knowing where in the community there are and are not facilities and programs offered within a 10-minute walk of one's home help to identify areas of opportunity and growth in the future. The 10-minute walk initiative is a benchmarking tool created by the Trust for Public Land, which highlights the many benefits parks and open space offer communities. Expanding access to programs, collecting and analyzing programming and events data such as enrollment or attendance and demographic information aids in planning future programs and events. Training and mentoring youth, continuing our partnerships with local schools can foster relationships to recruit and provide life skills trainings for teens and mentor youth in the importance of parks, recreation, and open space within the city. Next slide, please. Boosting resilience. We must understand the role that Parks and Open Space Network plays on the environment. Many of our spaces are located along key habitats such as waterways, reservoirs, and riparian areas where proper management can help boost environmental resiliency. Communicating inclusively. Our connection with the community will not stop at this project. We are committed to improving our marketing, our messaging, and our impacts across the community. Investing equitably. This means we will work to continually identify opportunities for new growth while carefully considering the operational and maintenance obligations now and into the future. Equitable investment involves providing meaningful access to amenities such as playgrounds, sports fields, recreation centers, and open space, but also providing opportunities for programming and special events all across the city. Next slide, please. Achieving the goals developed throughout the planning process requires accountability and commitment to the mission of our department. The master planning process may be coming to an end, but this is just the beginning of a series of projects intended to provide direction and guidance to the department. An upcoming strategic planning effort will provide specific and measurable goals through clearly defined actions necessary to achieve outcomes defined in the master plan. A comprehensive review and update to the department's dedication and development criteria manual aims to align best practices in land use and development with goals and objectives of the master plan, and to better inform future development of parks and open space across the city. And perhaps one of the largest projects involves the development of geographic information systems planning tool. This tool will provide the ability to run repeated and ongoing analysis of the data described in the creation of the composite needs map, but also starts to layer in pro-specific data related to amenities and programming distribution and asset lifecycle management, as well as real-time condition reporting and historical capital and operational investment. Next slide, please. I'd like to highlight some of the key groups and dates for the adoption of this plan and the approval process. So following a presentation earlier this month, the Parks, Recreation, and Advisory Board voted unanimously on a motion to recommend the adoption of the Our Parks, Our Places Master Plan. Last week, we visited the Planning and Zoning Commission, where they unanimously approved a motion to recommend approval to City Council of the amendment to the Aurora Places Comprehensive Plan. And that leads us to today, where we will ask a question here at the end, looking forward to City Council study session and regular meetings in March, with a goal to finalize the process in early April. Next slide, please. So the question for consideration today is, does the Parks Foundation and Quality of Life Committee approve as presented today and support the advancement of the Our Parks, Our Places plan to City Council for consideration? And with that, I thank you all for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ryan. Councilmember Coombs? Any
Yes,
questions?
thank you so much. So I guess my question is about, as you're conducting the outreach, I know you guys did a ton. While I was representing Ward 5, there was definitely a group of residents in relation to the Central Recreation Center and the plan to implement a park there that felt very strongly. And so my question is, in response to feedback that challenged the plan or said, no, this part of the plan that impacts our area isn't what we want. How did you and the team approach that kind of challenging or objecting type of feedback?
Yeah, so that's a very great question, and we did certainly hear those types of instances when we were speaking with the community. But what was really important through the process of this was sharing with community members that a master plan of this scale and this level is very high level, and we're looking at the future of parks and recreation across the entirety of the city. So we really tried not to focus too much or have too much conversation of specific sites and specific types of development within the plan, as these are overarching goals and strategies for the future of the department. Nicole, did you have some additional to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to expand on that a little bit. Ryan's absolutely right. This is overall framework for us, and as you can imagine, I mean, I'm recalling one of the outreach events that we held at Expo specifically. Everybody was very focused on that particular facility and the surrounding park. So we tried to remind people that we're trying to look at the overarching themes and goals, but we do retain that information if they do get into the specifics. And when we do have projects moving forward, we do use that data to go back and look through that.
Thank you both. That's super helpful.
All right, any other questions? Councilmember Murillo?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this presentation. This looks great. I love to see the intentionality the data and the different layers of kind of data-driven decision making. So this looks really good. So I want to commend you for the work that y'all have been doing on this. I think from what I'm hearing that this is broad enough for, you know, like a general strategy without getting too in the weeds around specific parcels of land, properties, right? I guess on that note, just wanted to ask and see if within this current structure of the plan that, you know, this would allow for acquisition of property if in the event that something became available to kind of convert or be considered as a park in different parts of the city.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for that. So there's sort of a multi-part answer to that question. So the process that we've created of the planning tool helps us identify within neighborhoods where we may be missing the resources necessary to serve the community. So it does aid us in finding the areas. Then additionally, taking it one step further, the adoption of this plan by reference in the comprehensive plan does give us the ability to consider and to give justification to land acquisition in some of those identified areas.
Ryan, I might add to that is one of our specific goals is to essentially create an acquisition plan for parks and open space. So through this master plan, we've identified a need to get even more specific for acquisition.
Gotcha. Is there like a specific part that is that the proactively invest in present and future, I guess, bucket of the plan?
I can pull that. If you guys want to continue on with questions, I can pull that specific goal number and put that in the chat if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that works for me. I didn't have any other questions. I just wanted to get an understanding. You know, like part of the my involvement on this committee and representing Ward 1, you know, we've had discussions around kind of the lack of green space and specifically park space in Ward 1. Also the challenge that having the most dense and older and developed part of the city that you know, the rub, right, that presents. So just bringing that to the forefront of kind of like why I'm asking those questions to kind of follow that thread through. So I don't have any other questions, and if you could put that in the chat, that would be great.
Chair Medina.
Yes.
Hi, I would also add that based on what we know from this planning document, we're always looking for opportunities, especially in Ward 1, if there's an opportunity to purchase land or build a park, because it's very apparent through this document that there's a need. I also will say this is the planning document, and then the next step will be a strategic plan will follow. It won't happen this year. It'll most likely happen in 2025, which will get further into the details of what we would pursue over time. Nicole, is there anything you want to add on that?
No, that's absolutely accurate. Thanks, Brooke.
Thank you.
Thank you with that. Yeah, so you're just needing us to kind of move this forward, correct? The plan?
Yes, that is correct. We are asking for an approval to move forward to a study session.
Okay. Committee members, are you okay with moving this forward?
Yes.
All right. I agree as well. So thank you much again for the presentation, Ryan, and we'll move it forward.
Thank you all.
All right. Next is 4C medians. Nicole again.
All right. Well, good morning again. We're bringing the 2024 median project before you. We spoke about this last June, and we wanted to answer many of the questions that came up during that policy committee meeting. Next slide, please. So just as an overview of our Zurich Median program, we began this project in 2015, and the goal was to have lower construction costs, be very water conscious, and lower our maintenance implications. So the program was initiated in 2015, and the first medians actually were installed in 2016. So the focus of our Zurich Median program is really on the arterials throughout the area, and there are some exceptions for HOAs, metro districts, and other IGAs, because those often have structures in place through the planning process that designates those to be developed and then maintained by those other entities. The one thing to note is there's 4 different, I guess, statuses, if you will, or condition when we review the median program. So to the left, we have undeveloped. So that means there's no existing curb and gutter. So we do not, for the Zurich median program, we really are focused on medians that have existing curb and gutter. Public Works typically does the curb and gutter installation. And so the undeveloped, we have to partner with them. So the Zurich median program is really a separate program from all of the medians throughout the city that do not have existing curb and gutter. Then you can see in that second picture, curb and gutter only. So a lot of times there's either existing rock, sometimes, you know, there had been an earlier attempt to add some native seed mix, but there's very minimal to no landscaping at all. Then you see in that third picture, that is what the Zurich program is developing. So you can see the mix of plants and rock material that's intended to be very low maintenance and also very water conscious. And then we also have another category that is considered to be landscaped. And those are really medians that were previously landscaped throughout the city. And in the next map, you will see the distribution of these. So just to clarify, the medians that are not covered under this program are the undeveloped medians, the existing xeriscaped, the existing landscaped, and also turf conversions. Turf conversions, and you'll hear a presentation on that later this meeting. So our main focus is on those curb and gutter only areas. Next slide. So what we did is go through and we put together a map to indicate what the status was across the city. So we developed a map to your right of the whole city, and then we're going to zoom in on each of the wards because it's a little bit difficult to see the map at this scale. So the green means those are fully developed and landscaped. The yellow indicates fully developed and has been a part of the Xeriscape program. The dark blue is under construction. The lighter blue is in design. The pink is the proposed medians for 2024. And then the red is the eligible for future Xeriscape improvements. So we do not have, and just to clarify, when we look at these different maps by ward, the undeveloped medians that do not have any curb and gutter are not included in this map. So you can see with Ward 1, the existing medians that are landscaped, those that have the Xeriscape there in the yellow, and then the proposal for 2024. Next slide, please.
I had a question related to Ward 1. I don't know if it makes sense to ask now or to wait till the end. Didn't want to get you off track if it made sense to ask it here.
Yeah, why don't you, please go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. I think this might be maybe in the category of like not on this map because it's not paved and it doesn't have a gutter, but oh shoot, I just lost the location. If I can remember, I'll circle back. My apologies.
Okay, no worries at all. And then through the last June meeting, we were asked to provide some additional meetings for clarification on which projects had been completed through this Xeriscape program through the different wards. So we put together charts indicating whether they were completed, the various sections of median that were completed in each ward from 2016 and are, even currently proposed in 2024. So you can see there were 4 projects here in Ward 1. Next slide. Moving on to Ward 2, you can see there in the areas those that are eligible for future improvements, as well as all of the improvements that have been completed to date. Next slide. With Ward 2, some of the other, so one of the things that's interesting in putting together this information is that some of these projects are counted twice, right? So if they're right on the border of wards, we're counting them in each ward. And so some of the wards look like they've had more projects, but in reality, it's really because a lot of them had shared borders on streets and arterials where we did the median work. Next slide. This is Ward 3. Ward 3 is a great example, Councilmember Medina, because there are significant arterials around the boundary of Ward 3, so you can see those represented in this map. And you'll note that as well through the chart. Next slide. Next. Yeah, so you can see because of the, we end up having two sheets for the PowerPoint presentation because a lot of those projects are along the boundary, and some of it's also, we go every section of median. So on streets that have more mileage, they might have medians that are more broken up. So it, in some regards, it gives you a sense of the work that we have accomplished, but it can be a little bit misleading because each arterial is developed a little bit differently and the size of those medians varies greatly. Next slide. This is Ward 4. All right, next please. Ward 5. And Ward 6. So there are some of the wards that have a lot of new development that's going on, and a lot of the work that you see out there, oftentimes pros, Brooke and I are both asked, about why is construction going on in certain neighborhoods and so forth. A lot of the median work that you do see is required to be completed by developers. Sometimes those do come over to the city for maintenance. Other times the developers are required to continue to maintain those. Next slide.
I'm sorry, I do have one kind of question / comment for the Ward 6 section. I know that the project that was in Ward 6 got redistricted into Ward 5 during the process last year. And I recall that Councilmember Bergen did have a comment that she would like to see Ward 6 actively included for 2024. And I don't see anything. I don't know if that's an issue. It looks like there is some red, maybe that's in the eligible category. So just in light of that conversation that has already happened before, it might be worth it to try to look at some areas that would be in Ward 6 for this year, because I know that was a concern that was expressed.
Yes, and I appreciate that comment, Councilmember Coombs. We do have some information in one of the later slides on some of the projects that we are working on in Ward 6. One of those was separately funded through one-time funds last year and does require design work and coordination with Public Works because it is one of those areas that does not have existing curb and gutter. But there are some things in the works for Ward 6 that don't show up as part of this particular program.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. So the typical budget in the 2024 that was 2024 budget that was approved last fall is 1.25 million. That is pretty typical for us. That is kind of the standard that we had set and work with council through the budget process to approve. One thing to keep in mind is that approximately 10% of the costs do go to design and surveying and permitting costs. And then I believe in the June meeting, I think it may have been Councilmember Medina had asked about some average pricing. So what we're seeing right now and the last bids that were done last year is an average cost of about $12 per square foot. To give you a mileage example, 1 mile of median at 20 feet wide is right around that 1.25 number. It comes out to 1.267. So that gives you an indication of how much area that we're able to complete annually. When we go through our selection process, we have a status and conditions. So those medians, we're looking at those medians with curb and gutter only. We're also looking at any safety concerns that we've heard either through Public Works or through our parks operations and maintenance staff or any of our contractors. We're also looking at adjacent land use. We're also looking at whether or not it would complete a section. As you can imagine, when we start down one arterial, the intent is to try to get that built all the way down so that we're crossing through multiple wards. We also do try to look at the geographical equity and throughout the different wards. And we're also taking into account any resident and council requests that we've had. There are times when we would like to do some median work, but we do coordinate with Public Works and we may have to postpone some medians if we are aware that there's other roadway or utility construction that may occur, because it may just be beneficial to postpone it a year so that we can maximize our taxpayer dollars. Next slide. So these are the 2024 recommended medians. You can see the score through our scoring matrix there on the left. So the highest scores indicate the highest need through that decision-making process that we just discussed. So the first project proposed is Airport from 6th Avenue to Center Tech Parkway. That does include, that's basically in between wards 2 and 3. And you can see that cost is approximately $260,000. The next proposed project is Islas Avenue, so Buckley to Telluride. That's wards 4 and 5. That cost is around $300,000. The third project proposed is East 38th Avenue, Tower to Himalaya. That is Ward 2, and that one is a higher cost because it's a larger median. So that one cost-wise is coming in with an estimate of a little over $550,000. And then we are looking at 6th Avenue, Chambers to Airport. That is Ward 3. So that one is a lower cost at $74,000. And then finally, Chambers Road, Smith to Colfax. That one's Ward 1 and 2, and that one again is much like the East 38. That one's a larger median, so that's got a higher cost at a $474,000. So overall, these projects are around 1.68 million. And you can see the land use; those are referenced there on adjacent land uses in that consideration. Next slide, please. So this just indicates the map on where these are all located. So as we discussed, the budget is 1.25 million. The reason we are seeking approval for projects that would exceed that is we may have some carryover funds. It will depend on how the bids come in with the medians that are currently in design, but we wanted to have essentially kind of pre-approval so that we could maximize and spend out the full budget. So if we get in a scenario where we're a little bit short on funding, then we rely upon the funding mechanism. So essentially how much the projects cost. So not only will we look at the score in the matrix, but for example, if we came up $100,000 short, then instead of eliminating the number 5 project on Chambers, we would probably be more likely to eliminate project number 4 there so that we could still maximize and build out as much as possible rather than just taking from the bottom of the list and solely going off of the scoring matrix. Next slide, please. I just wanted to give some quick images of each of these project areas so you can see what they look like today. So we'll just go through these very quickly. This is the first project at Airport. Next slide, please. Second proposed project at Iowa Avenue. The third project at East 38th Avenue. Fourth project at 6th Avenue. And then the project at Chambers. Next. So this is where Councilmember Coombs, just an update for the Smoky Hill median. $250,000 was approved during the spring 2023 workshop for the design of the curb gutter and landscaping. In that particular case, we worked with Councilmember Bergen on the median landscaping in the design concept. Because this is such a large median, the cost estimate's very high. So we made a compromise to do xeric design essentially on the ends or end caps of the median, and then to do some native grass in the middle. Another reason that we moved in this direction is that when this roadway was initially designed, it was designed to drain to that median. So if we go in and put in curb and gutter, that presents a very big drainage challenge. So we are currently working with Public Works to establish a timeline. I just got those quotes in my inbox within the last week. So we are already in that process to do the design on curb and gutter. So we're finalizing what that looks like. Through the workshop last year, what was decided upon was that 2 of the 4 proposed sections would be in design. And we will look at, depending upon how the costs come in for that design work, we will look at whether or not we can expand that to all 4 sections that were proposed along Smoky Hill. Next slide. So that brings us to the end, is whether or not the committee approves the 2024 median projects and requests that they move forward to study sessions. And I'm happy to answer any further questions that you may have.
Thank you, Councilmember Coombs.
Nope, you already answered all my questions, so thank you.
Councilmember Murillo.
I'm good on my end, actually. So yeah, I would support moving this forward.
Everybody approve moving it forward? All right.
Yes.
And that's the direction. Thank you much.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to 4D, consideration to approve a resolution for a grant agreement between the City of Aurora and Great Outdoors Colorado for the Generation Wild Intern Program 24-25.
Yay, it's my turn. Well, good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. And I have to say that with all the presentations I've seen so far, it just makes me so proud to work for this organization and this department. It's really exciting times, and I look forward to 2024. So my name is Joy Thompson. I'm the Natural Resources Supervisor with Open Space and Natural Resources. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the Generation Wild program that the Naturalist team participates in. And some of this is going to be a review for some of you. So definitely let me know if anybody has any questions as we go along. So next slide. So when I bring up the Naturalist team, one of the first questions I usually get is, what does the Naturalist team do? And so what we do is we inspire connections to Aurora's natural resources through excellent education, communication, and interpretation. And you can see there all the different ways that we do it. We work with everyone from schools to general public programs. We are present at as many of the pros events as possible. And so I was very excited when Jessica talked about the new summer events, because that's a new one. So that's exciting for us to do. We participate in a lot of natural resource monitoring and education. We run the Osner Steward program, which is a very active volunteer program. And then we run the Generation Wild program. So next slide, please. So you may be asking, what is the Generation Wild program? So Generation Wild is a program that actually started in 2016-2017 timeframe. And it started as an idea from Great Outdoors Colorado, or GOCO, and that is the lottery money. You purchase a lottery ticket and a lot of this money goes towards open space. And what GOCO did is they worked with the University of Colorado to do a study across the state of Colorado to determine how people were using open spaces and how they viewed open space in their lives. And what they found through that study was that there were significant pockets within the state where people were not using open spaces and they weren't even familiar with what open spaces were. So they dug a little bit deeper and they went into those communities and met with them in their community areas. They met with them at schools, at churches, at community centers. They provided food, they provided childcare and translators, and they got as much feedback as they could. And what they found out from these communities was a lot of information about why people were not going into open space. And there were reasons such as, I'm afraid, what's going to happen to me out in open space? I've never been in open space. This is unfamiliar. But a lot of the reasoning came down to, I don't feel like open space is for me. And I don't really have access to open space. I feel like it's, you know, a rich white person thing. And so what GOCO wanted to do was to change that, because a lot of these communities are communities of color. They're communities that we have traditionally been underserved, communities that are a lot of lower income. So what GOCO wanted to do was set up a program that would encourage people who have traditionally been underserved to get out into open space by removing the barriers that stood in the way. And so GOCO worked with different outdoor education, environmental education, outdoor recreation providers and said, you guys develop yourselves into coalitions and you work together in certain areas of your state to get people out into open space. So next slide, please. So that is how the Northeast Metro Coalition was developed, of which we are a part. So the Northeast Metro Coalition has several different members, including all these groups that you can see here: Environmental Learning for Kids, Commerce City, City and County of Denver, Groundwork Denver, all those groups there. Those are just the groups that are in the coalition. There are also several organizations within the city of Aurora that we work with this audience. And these include the Asian Pacific Development Center, Aurora Youth Options, Aurora Public Schools is a big one, YASPA, SOAR, Aurora Housing Authority, and Aurora Recreation through the Compass program. So next slide, please. So what do? Well, we get outside. So we do everything that's on this list. Some of the big things and some of the really most popular ones that people want to do are kayaking. That's a huge one. Hiking is also a big one. Biking, swimming, of course, is always popular. So we're at Aurora Reservoir a lot during the summertime. Getting out into nature, doing nature exploration, nature art, stewardship. So we do a lot of stewardship projects. And then mindfulness is a newer one. And I'm going to talk about that one and the program we've started there in just a little bit. So next slide, please. So the first round of the Great Outdoors Colorado, the GOCO grant, was called the Inspire Grant, and that ran from 2017 to 2020. At the end of that grant, GOCO decided they were going to fund another round of 2021 to 2023. We had a little bit of money left over from that first grant, and so we sunk that into an internship program. And we worked with Aurora Youth Options, which, as I'm sure you may know, is a division of Aurora Mental Health. And we worked with teens and young adults that had been identified by those in their community as possibly being at risk. And so what we did is we created an internship program to show these kids some different careers in natural resources, one of which was being a naturalist. So the interns got to do things such as staff the desks at the nature centers, interact with visitors, greeting and answering questions, giving nature programs. You can see one of our interns here facilitating a wagon ride out at Plains Conservation Center. They staffed event booths with us. They led nature hikes. They began to see what it's like to develop interpretive exhibits, and they got real world job experience in this. And we did have to end that summer internship program in 2022 due to money, but that was a very successful part of the program. So next slide, please. So this is just some of the feedback that we've gotten in this past year. Era is our Generation Wild program coordinator this year. And she has done a great job of working with the audiences that we've worked with so far, which, by the way, I should clarify that the Generation Wild audiences that we work with that were identified through the research done by GOCO and University of Colorado. For the Northeast Metro Coalition, they are Northeast Park Hill, Montbello, Commerce City, and Northwest Aurora, which is why we're such a big part of this. So a lot of this feedback shows that people really enjoyed and appreciated the programming. That top picture there that shows a bunch of people kind of standing on their heads is actually a bunch of teens in the down dog yoga position. This is a new program that Eric created called Nurtured by Nature. And it's a program that works specifically with middle to high school age kids to get them out into nature as a way to be mindful, be in the present, and kind of get away from some of the stresses that really can happen in the lives of those kids. And we've had a lot of success with this program. And when I say a lot, I'm not talking huge numbers, but I am talking repeat visitation. So we've gone and we've worked with several schools, and we keep going back there, getting the kids out into the parks and doing these Nurtured by Nature programs. And they keep requesting us to come back, work with some of the same kids, work with some new ones, and give them this opportunity to participate and feel so many of the benefits that you get just by being outside in nature. So next slide, please. So what are some of the outcomes? Well, between 2017 and 2023, we've seen over 22,000 kids and family members. That includes the COVID years of 2020 and 21, when the amount of people that we were able to interact with dropped pretty drastically. But we've been able to still make a lot of different connections with this programming. We also moved the program from being just a summer program to now we do winter programming too. And so we do things like get kids out ice skating, get them out tubing up in the mountains, do a lot of different things that gets them outside. We have a newsletter that we now put out to the Generation Wild audience in several different languages. And we've taken the program from being just first time or one-time experience for a child or their family to repeat experiences with the hope that they will continue to engage in the future. And then, like I said, we introduced the Nurtured by Nature program, which was a way to use mindfulness in nature to deal with the stressful lives that our teens and young adults are facing today. So next slide, please. So GOCO had originally said that they were not going to fund any more of the Generation Wild program. However, last year in 2023, they decided, surprise, Generation Wild is now actually going to be an offering from now on as something you can apply for as a grant through Great Outdoors Colorado. The problem was they're not implementing that until they implement their 2025 strategic plan, but they did offer interim funding. So they offered $375,000 to the Northeast Metro Coalition to get us through 2024 and 2025 until we are able to apply for that grant money again. The city of Aurora received $36,000 of this, which is $18,000 each for 2024 and 2025. And that $18,000 will go towards the salary for Generation Wild Program Coordinator, as well as for supplies for the programming, transportation for some of the audiences, and food and other supplies for the participants in the program. So that leaves with the final question of, do the committee members support moving this resolution for Generation Wild interim funding forward to study session for full council approval? And thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Councilmember Coombs?
So I guess part of my question is a little bit of a tangent. You mentioned the internship program was no longer able to continue due to lack of funding. Was that grant funding that ran out, or what might we be able to do if it's a successful program for our youth to provide support for that type of a program?
That is a great question. And the answer to the first part is yes, it was the grant funding that ran out. So we did have about $20,000 left over from that first grant cycle. And that is what we used to create the internship. And when that ran out, the money that we had left for the second grant cycle only covered part of the salary for the Generation Wild Program Coordinator and supplies and program supplies for that program. So in terms of what we could do to create that opportunity again for the future, basically it just comes down to having more money to be able to do it. that is something, like I said, it was a great opportunity for a lot of kids, and I would like to try to do it again. In talking with the staff, we would have to rethink some of the ways that we did it. It was a little bit tough to have the interns during our busy summer season. And we would just have to rethink several different things, but it is something that we would like to do again, for sure. And Councilmember Combs, I believe you also asked last time during this presentation about what it would take to make the Generation Wild program coordinator a full-time position, or, okay, so you're nodding. So
yeah, so that was kind of my other, like, connected to that. Is
Right.
there a way maybe, you know, balancing the different programs and the scheduling out of the different programs, if you could kind of, if we could fund the internship program during a different time period than Generation Wild, if maybe that person could be doing both and be full-time, since this, right, the funding that's available from GoCo is definitely not enough funding to pay someone a full-time salary year-round. So maybe we can look at other programming and kind of layering different programs to keep that person employed full-time year-round, and also be providing the same, like, consistent and related programming for youth throughout the year.
Absolutely. And that is something that we are working on, is figuring out how to get that position to be a full-time one. And I'm working on that with my supervisor at this point. So it's definitely something we want. And that would be one of their duties, would be to restart the internship program.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It sounds like you guys are on it. I certainly would love to hear more about what you're doing as you move forward with that. And I appreciate, you know, just you all doing this work. It's important for us to do everything we can for youth with a range of interests. So thank you.
And it has been a program, if I could just say, for my entire team, not just our coordinator, but the entire team has really gotten into the program, has helped out with the program, and really is dedicated to keeping this as part of what we do. So it's important for us too.
All right, Councilmember Murillo.
No questions. Thank you for all the information. I approve it moving forward. And Councilmember Medina, just wanted to let you know I have a hard stop at 10. I can't recall if we have one other item, but just FYI.
Yep, no, I do the same. So I would think that we'll, is everybody okay with moving this forward? Committee wise? So we'll move it forward. Yeah, we can assist wherever we can in this as well. And maybe we can talk a little bit about how we can tie this into the Youth Empowerment Center as well. So that may be some conversations we can have offline. This turf conversion, do we want to just table that to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Councilmember Medina, if possible, we do need to start making some decisions around that with regard to purchasing. We could have you look at that and send us, if you're able to send us your thoughts, we can address them and maybe do this behind the scenes.
Okay, is other committees members fine with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I echo your earlier comments around incorporating 4D in the Youth Empowerment Center. It's a great idea.
All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and is there any miscellaneous items? Topics for next meeting?
I will go ahead and send those to you in an email since we're at time.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and great presentations today. And we will adjourn.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.